Just sit here and let them chat.
Like background laughter. It's like
have you ended your workout? No, haven't I? I'm still going.
I did one for 3 hours and 30 minutes today. What did you do?
Well done. Well done.
Only when I took my watch off to go in the shower, and it's like, God, it pause. Like, so how do you burpees?
Keep this podcast going the last 3 hours. Right, we're on a 2-hour time lockdown, ladies.
oh, I like it.
Right, anyway, right, we are recording, so welcome everybody to this episode of Itchy Bitchy and Guests Coach Caris podcast. First of all, thank you very much for coming. I know some of you in the room, most of you in the room are all of my biggest supporters, and it's absolutely appreciated. All right, but it's not about me today. It's about Ailsa. All right.
You be my support.
Yeah. You know where the toilets are. You've very kindly put your phones on silent, which is much appreciated. You've got your glasses topped up. That's it. So, the whole point of this conversation is about midlife and alcohol, and it only comes because I've been having a dilemma about my alcohol consumption, and there's been a couple of vomit occasions, which I think most of you know. If you don't know, I'm happily share them. I am not shy, all right? But for me, I just can't make that commitment because there's certain times with certain people and certain occasions that I still like a drink. So maybe one day I'll be not drinking, maybe one day I won't. Anyway, yous are all here because yous are awesome. Yous are maybe curious, you maybe want to cut down, you maybe don't want to cut down, you maybe just want to be the top party animal in the whole world. Exactly, all right. Maybe you feel fine with your alcohol consumption, but you just feel less fine. What does fine mean? Fucked up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional.
That's not what I was going to go. I didn't know that. I was going to be like, oh, you can be fine, but you could be optimal. Okay.
Optimal fine.
That's
Optimally fucked up. Optimally insecure. Yeah? Yeah. Anyway, it's not by no means, it's not a you should stop drinking chat. Absolutely not. It's about just being curious and chatting. And everybody's got a story. And I don't know about you lot, but I love everybody's story. It's like mental, I think. Yeah, it's fascinating. Anyway, I do work with midlife women. And alcohol, I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of people about alcohol and the consumption. But it's not even all about, it's not about how much you drink. She says, looking at the sober person for 7 years. But my tolerance has got less and less and less, but my hangovers have got worse and worse and worse. So it's just about being curious. How many of you have ever said in your life, I am never drinking again? Brilliant, I love it. Right, so I'm going to introduce Ailsa. I've got 2 minutes to introduce you.
Oh gosh.
Right, Ailsa is awesome. She's 44. She has a career. She's got 2 kids.
Yep.
She's got a husband. She's had the balls to go self-employed and retrain. Would you have done that if you were still drinking?
No, that would have been risky.
Excellent. Risky. And she's 7 stone lighter.
Yeah.
Would that have happened if you hadn't been drinking?
No, it wouldn't have.
Right. So, Ailsa's story is powerful because it's real life shit.
What a good intro.
That was it.
Did I come in now?
Yeah.
Right.
Ailsa, everybody.
So we're all sitting comfortably, so I'll begin. I like the idea of storytelling. I think that'll be a new thing I'll add to my bow. So I suppose where does a good story start? At the beginning. So the beginning of this story would be the 1st of December 2018, which was my stop. Well, it is my stop date. Now there was drinking occurred after that, but that still sticks as the stop date because it was the day the decision was made. I remember it clearly. It was a Sunday that followed a Saturday, as they do, which was Saturday night where they've been drinking. Not actually, not a wild one by my standards. Relatively chilled out. We did a couple of friends round. We had as a couple, my husband and I, kid-free every second weekend, which was an interesting dynamic. So his son and my 2 would be off at the same time, and then we'd have them at the same time. So this was a kids' weekend. So although they'd been drinking, it had been commensurate because of that. But the next day we were putting up the Christmas tree, and I just couldn't really put up the Christmas tree because I just was so rough, and my head was on the the sofa, and I can remember just thinking, oh, this is not good. I've got these two wee ones. They're now 16, 17, so they must have been 9, 10, buzzing about a Christmas tree, and I'm not really any use to them. It was good for their independent living skills because they got that tree up. So, I still don't like putting the tree up, but, it was a kind of like epiphany moment of, well, that's not really good enough, is it? Like where you're at right now in this moment. At that point, I was a smoker. It actually transpires I was then really ill. So although I was rough that morning, I then got really unwell that week, which kind of gave me a good in to not smoke and then to sort of start this. By the Friday, which was a works night out was planned, I was then in I'm feeling better enough to go, but how about you just use this now? You've now not smoked for 5 days or whatever. Let's just make this life change that you've known for the past 2 years, which you would now call the pre-contemplative stage, that you wanted to make this shift. So it was kind of opportune in a timeline. So I do think the reason I felt so absolutely hellish that Sunday was because I was rough, but I was also getting unwell, but it was still a blessing because it led me on this path. So December was actually a really good time to stop because alcohol's everywhere, but so in one way you stopped at the hardest part because you got used to the fact that you were going to the night out and saying, I'm not drinking, which doesn't go down well. And I suppose, like, for transparency, when I speak about this, I get quite excited because I look at the last 7 years and I look at everything that I've gained and what a blessing it has been. One of the books that I read at the time is called We Are the Luckiest. And what she's referring to, the author, is those that struggle to manage their drinking and keep it in check and do it moderately are possibly the luckiest, because you then learn to live completely without it. And that gives you so much.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's like the being ill was lucky because it made me make the change. But being somebody that did struggle to stop of a night out is possibly turned out to be a great blessing, because it is then something that's made me go, do you know what? Moderation is knackering. It's a constant dream for me to try and have a little, but not just like a lot. If I'm in, I'm in. I'm an enthusiastic person. If I have 1 pint, it wouldn't have been 1 pint. It would be lots of pints. It would be the pub shutting. It would be come back to the house now because we're kids free. So it wasn't daily drinking. It wasn't what we might class in their society as like problematic drinking, but it was problematic drinking because it was problematic to me in my life and it wasn't helping me be healthy, happy, have energy, etc. So that's kind of like the origin of the story. But there was 6 times after that I drank. So that stopped at a keep because that's when the big decision happened. But 2019 then had 6 occasions, and that then became, I look at that a wee bit like Russian roulette, because 3 were fine, moderate, civilised and relatively well behaved, and how I would imagine you all drink in the way I always think people manage it well. You all look really respectable, Yeah, that's what I'm going with. Like normal. 3 were fine. 3 were not fine. 3 were, disastrous. The first one was, I was on day 175 of not drinking, and I counted the days because it was something I was proud of and it was all part of making the change. And I'd read a lot of quit lit. You have to be careful how you say quit lit. But I'd read a lot of quit lit. I was rewiring my brain to make this change, and then we went to Vibration Festival and I was excited for it. I was also probably ovulating because my Beyonce hormones were out. So I was in that heightened, excited state, and everybody around me was still drinking because, me that decided to make this change. And at that festival, there was a bar, but the soft drinks were someone else. So I was at the bar with the people that I was with, like my husband or pals, and I was having a great time and I was all hyper. And I didn't make it wasn't a cognizant decision to be like, today I'm going to drink. It was just that I was thirsty and the place to get the juice was over there. And then one of my husband's pals handed me his pint so that he could go for a pee or whatever. And this pint was in my hand, and then I just drank it. Like a wee drink out of it because I was just actually thirsty, and then I kept drinking it, and then I borrowed fags off somebody, and then I got more pints, and I think I actually had to invest in some kind of ticket to like access the alcohol bar. I had tokens and I was right all back in it. And
How
that
many
went-
times have we all done that though?
and that went
Yeah.
on for hours.
100%.
And then the next thing, folk that I hadn't seen for ages had heard my husband text them, she's drinking again. Folk came round the house, like to celebrate, they detailed me. And then it was I just felt horrendous then having to go back to, oh no, that was, how would I say that now? The behaviour didn't align with my values. It might sound a bit
As
wanky,
cheesy
but
as that
it
sounds,
genuinely didn't. My values were to be good at my job, to be a good parent. I wanted to shift weight, I wanted to get healthy. Sleep matters so much, and alcohol eradicates your REM sleep. So I was thoroughly pissed off with myself.
Fair. But what could have happened? You could have just gave in.
Yeah, I could
You
just
could've just gave up.
like went into the shame of that,
Yeah.
and then just stayed with that. When it came to stopping, and smoking as well, if you feel that you're done anyway, you've ruined your organs, you double down and you just keep in it. There has to be like hope. There has to be like the belief probably that you don't want to hear the scaremongering stuff. You want to hear the bit about for smoking, there's some really good stuff. After 3 days, your heart rate's back to normal, and after 5 days, your lungs are starting to clear out. There's those positive stuff that got me going in terms of like, no, this is worth doing, this is a decision you've made. It probably was important to experiment with moderating, because other people do seem to manage that.
I find that quite interesting that you say you find moderation exhausting.
Totally.
I would never thought about that.
Aye.
But yeah, I get that.
Living with the freedom of a choice that then it's just so much easier. I think one of the behaviour things that really helped was when I finally learned to like play it forward. I now work for an organisation and we do training around alcohol, cannabis, nicotine, ketamine and nitrous oxide. We do training for adults that work with young people to help them talk to young people about substances, because we know that young people are going to use substances throughout their life, and that they might not, but risk, adolescence, being a teenager, etc. So we know that just say no isn't a very good message or whatever. That is more about like making your own empowered choices. Definitely what I bring to that role at times is because I had to turn my brain into this is no good for me, I don't want it. I have taught myself to not view alcohol in a good light. That probably comes out a bit when I speak, because that helped me to rewire my brain in the direction of travel I wanted. But it's not about a judgment. Couldn't judge anybody, in terms of like alcohol completed it, mate. It's like did the level, took it to the end game where it wasn't doing anything for me, really.
Is that the film your Christmas tree putting up skills?
Yeah, which are still shit. I still avoid that.
What was your relationship with alcohol like before you stopped? Was it weekend benders? Like you weren't a functioning alcoholic, I just want to state that.
So it's interesting. So I suppose there's a bit of part of my beliefs now, like that, I would say there's no such thing as an alcoholic. Alcoholic is a terminology we've been taught, coming from probably the alcohol industry, to help us think that it's fine for you, it's okay, it's safe, it's all right, it's all good, it's a part of normal life. But some people are allergic and some people have a deficit within them. Like we wouldn't say cocaineaholic or cigaretteaholic, because we know those things are addictive. So I suppose this is where I could risk of sounding preachy, and it's not preachy, it's just the things that I had to go and learn about and discover and now believe. And what I think is, everybody's exposed to all this messaging from the alcohol industry on a daily basis that we don't even notice we're exposed to. So therefore, if I can provoke people to think, even if it's by pissing them off a bit, or not, they might not like that, if I can throw that out there, a wee bit of messaging about, well, that alcoholic, I wasn't like a functioning alcoholic, I wasn't daily drinking, but I probably would shoot down the term, because I think that kept me drinking for a long time. I could go, well, I don't drink every day. I could make a good story that my drinking was okay because it was just weekend, it was recreational.
An alcoholic.
And I do believe that turns out to sort of become a bit of a misnomer that allows the drinks industry to keep turning its big wheels because it needs to, because that's what the industry's built on, and I get that. I'm not against it or anti it. The drink industry puts money to good things as well. They invest a lot in communities. They do a lot about underage drinking. But that all suits the idea that drink's safe and fine, just some people have a problem. But how did it look? It looked like weekend social drinking. See now, right, when I look back at my younger years drinking, I'm quite a sensitive person, right? I don't necessarily like lots of lights flashing. I don't like loud noise. I'm possibly neurodivergent. And I think my drinking came from masking a little to coexist in the crowds that went with nightclubs and what my pals were doing. And so I think that the drinking might have been a little bit of a, not really a social lubricant, because I wasn't like not confident to speak to people or whatever. I actually used to get pissed off when I was slurring my words because I like talking so much, do you know? But I said, oh shit, I'm too drunk, I need to drink water so I can keep talking. People need to hear this or whatever. But I do think I used it to exist in spaces that I maybe didn't feel that comfy in, like in terms of like origins of it.
Yeah.
But it was.
I think we're all guilty of that though, are we not? No, I'm not like, you didn't need to get steaming to fit in, but have we all done something or just to fit in, do you know what I mean? I suppose you just do it once the
People do things.
Yeah, like dress differently or
And particularly when I was younger. My drinking started really young, which is interesting. And now that I do this training, evidence shows like the younger you have your first whole drink, the higher risk of later life problematic use. So it does kind of correlate. The 90s were quite the time. And when I look at my friendship groups, drinking, our young people are not drinking as young as we did, which is obviously good news. But yeah, it was young. I had an older friendship group when I was about 13. So I used to like escape the house. I had a really complex system with a bit of string that pulled the door over. It was like a patio door thing. I tied it to a fence.
This is like amazing.
Honestly, my mum, like, what she knows about this now. It's not like I'm leaking my, But I used to sneak out and go down to Penny and Changes. It's that Own It gym.
Oh yeah.
Because I was into like motor music and all that. And my pals were about 17, I was 13. So that was like, the first time I went, I was sober. I never thought to drink. I just really wanted to go there. But then maybe the second time it was a bottle of Peach Concord, and the third time it was with the Ted Regal King size, and that went for there. But the actual, it was sneaking out the house, it was that normal adolescent, like risk taking.
It was all exciting.
Aye, and it was good. I've fond memories. I couldn't go to that Own It gym now.
Your name's on the wall in the toilet.
Yes, it was Peach Concord.
I like Peach Concord. It was quite nice. What scared you the most about stopping?
Oh no, see, when I knew, nothing, what scared me was failure, I suppose, but like, I was so elated and so excited to call it hard to say, fluffy pink cloud syndrome. So it's in the books, and I really, that way there's placebo, maybe because I read about it, I felt it, but I really resonated with that, because as the alcohol clears out your system, which takes about 3 weeks, and that's not for daily drinking, that was just from like a big one event of drinking. It takes longer than anyone knows for it actually to get right out of you and for you to start to feel the benefits of it. So if you're a weekly drinker, you're always impacted by alcohol in your system in some way or another. And that's why drinking feels good again then, because it's relieving that feeling that you had in your system for feeling rough. So the fluffy pink cloud syndrome's like the greatest high I've ever had. Like, it was totally like, see, the idea that I was going to get to be free. I got that buzz early doors. Like, probably other addictions then ensue in the sense of I ate everything. So when I drank, I was around 16 stone, because obviously pints are quite calorific. So's eating shite for 2 days because you're feeling like shite. Takeaways and all that sort of thing. And then just, we've not been to Tesco because I was no wanting to drive the car on Sunday. So we're chasing our tail through the week for food and all that. So I hung around the 16 stone. Stopped on the 1st of December. By February, I was 17 stone 4, because my job was not to smoke or drink. So anything else didn't matter. It was just do not smoke, do not drink, which obviously together is easier, because if you're drank, I'd smoke immediately. Not if I smoked, I wouldn't drink, but anyway. So therefore the weight went on. So the macaronis and the chocolate fudge cakes and the treats, the dopamine replacement from what had previously been excitement. Also food activates like your calm down parasympathetic nervous system, your calm down mode.
A lot of big words.
Your rest and digest. So if I was feeling hyper and like, oh, should we go to the pub? If I had a macaroni, I'd be like, no, it's fine. It's a good strategy. I'd be like, what? Online shopping, ding, 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 ping, 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 dopamine.
That dopamine hit.
Had to be replaced. So I suppose maybe slightly I had this mindful awareness of these new things that were worrying, like as in, well, don't spend all your money online shopping. I obviously had more money not drinking and smoking, so it was all right, but don't eat everything forever. Do you know, don't, like, that's a health heart, like that's not going to work out well. But the only scary thing would have been somehow becoming derailed. I do wonder if something totally tragic happened to me, like horrific, you know, like a sudden horrendous bereavement, or like, could there be a risk of ever? That's the only...
You'll never know
No, you can't live like that. You can't live like worrying about that. But so I suppose there was no fear about, because it was never a deficit thing. It was never a loss. I knew immediately it was going to be a complete asset, clearing space for the good stuff to come in. Like I was determined that's what it was going to be. It was never going to be missing out. It was never missing out. When it's like my eyes got blown wide open by what I had thought was fun and exciting, and then actually I could just see it so differently a few weeks later. And also the beauty of connection without alcohol and the braveness of connection without alcohol. I got a lot of joy out of connecting with folk whilst drinking, but then I realised that, well, what about if you're just raw and you're not got that wee cloudiness about you, and you really eyeball somebody and talk to them in a real way that means something, and you're sober. I was like, that's so cool, do you know, in terms of like it being exciting and more exciting than pints had been. I really like the pints.
Socially now, I like the pint, I must admit. What does sober look like for you?
I mean, socially, I don't go out much.
That was my question.
I did in the beginning. I went on all the nights out in the beginning, and there was one in Edinburgh. It was like my husband's birthday, so it must have been around March. I mean, everybody was minging, and we were staying over. I was sharing a room with folk, and I mean, I had fun. I had a laugh, because you kind of rise on see, with alcohol, your first hour's all right, because you've got that initial warm feeling as it affects all your blood vessels and capillaries, and you feel warm and woozy. And then everything after that is actually quite shit. Like all the other drinks you'll have, it is a depressant. It's like, it's not gonna, you don't get better and better, your night doesn't. So you would rise up with everybody with that warm coziness, but you would notice you were tired.
It's the anticipation as well, isn't it? Like, so, like if you're sitting having a drink on a Friday night, like you'll open the bottle of wine, pour the glass of wine, and then you'll have one sip and you'll be like, that is so much better, when actually the alcohol hasn't hit anything, it's not even down your throat yet. Do you know what I mean? It's the anticipation and the excitement and the...
I used to think
of it. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's fab.
I used to think of it as clocking off. Because my job was stressful and society stuff's so interesting, because my deputy then would say, oh, I mean, I have a bottle of wine, like it's been a really stressful week, and I imagine I'd went in the Monday and went, well, I took your advice and I'm probably now not I was never not okay at work, but I'm probably not now in the greatest state. I'm not in optimal work mode on a Monday morning, fresh, when I drank Friday and then I drank Saturday and my sleep's been shit, and you know, I'm not prepared for the week well because I didn't make Tesco. And so it's that interesting bit where, oh, have a drink. But I did have an association of, like, as in, I'm off shift, I'm off duty. I had to learn to find that switch off in different ways, to get that off duty feeling, like, because it was like a gay abandon. Yeah. Well, I've had a drink, so I can't deal with him, so ideal, nobody can get me. I don't need to do anything. But you can find that, you can get that. So it's like baths or herbal teas or putting on, because really noticing everything around you. I would do things like put hand cream on and like smell it and sit with that and notice it, like to not always be seeking like this excited feeling of high, it would be like, what brings me down other than a macaroni?
Other than
A nice candle, cosy in bed, like fluffy socks.
So
Like,
you just appreciate the basic
yes,
things more now that you don't drink.
yeah, we'll get through all of
Which
these.
leads us on to
The Unexpected Joy, The Ordinary. One of the first books I read was Catherine Gray, who was a drinker, probably not unlike me, not the daily, and then made the same decision. And it's a great read, whether this stuff interests you or not, it's a great read. I even read her Unexpected Joy of Being Single follow-up, which my husband was like, why is that
Just to say
I know, I just like her, as I've moved into the spare room. But she, it's brilliant. She writes about her drinking life and then it's such a good read. But one of her follow-ups, apart from the single one, is this one, Unexpected Joy, The Ordinary. It's nothing really to do with drinking, but it's not surprising that it led there. And another
and
one,
it's about the candles in the baths and the cream and
where do you
just
get
the nice things.
your wee mini moments that keep you grounded and your little nice things that you notice. So I lived in the grey. I didn't notice those things. I moved from crawling through a work week, doing well, like functioning well, considering really, to then knackering myself with this weekend behaviour that wasn't helpful. So I was 36 when I stopped drinking, hadn't even really thought about perimenopause or midlife, but I now think, gosh, that stuff's so hard. Everything's against us in terms of anxiety, moods, emotions, sleep. What can women give themselves to really be like a performance enhancing drug or something like that? Do you know what, to give you the edge, to give you the and I think it could be if you have at least big periods of time where you've no alcohol in your system, you're getting the sleep you need, you're not got that anxiety, and I reckon that you possibly don't notice it, especially maybe that low level drinking. Do you know, because it's not a problem, and it was obviously a problem for me in that, because once I started, I couldn't stop with the Pringles thing, and I would just come back to the house, and we had no Pringles. I didn't even. All other interests went out the window. Like, I lived in the grey. Do you know that way? It would be like pint fag chat, until such times as I just eventually went to my bed. Do you know?
And then the next day it would be pint fags chat.
Aye. Aye. Or we can't do that now. Oh, like, look at the state of the house. Oh, smoke down the stairs. Like, shit, we shouldn't have done that. Get the doors open. Because we were always kid free, but it was like, still they're coming back, like we need to, all those little bits of your values that you let go. Like, they call it cognitive dissonance. Like, here who you want to be, but, here, I can't remember. One part of your brain is leading you into behaviours that you decided you weren't drinking that weekend, but I used to have a wee chat with myself in the mirror, like, as in, how come you're like
as if you were just
steaming
in the middle?
Thought we weren't doing this weekend. Look at you.
And your actions don't align with your goals. It just goes back to that.
And that's
a bit more
tricky way to live.
Mm-hmm. Any questions?
How did you feel, see, when other people, see, when you stopped drinking, how did other people around you react to that? What your close people?
Not great. It's interesting, because that's a wee bit of the training we talk about when I do, like, for young people. Young people tell us that it's not peer pressure, it's more just peer influence. Like they're not being like, go on. But in the adult world, it was absolutely peer pressure. There was this offence taken. Oh, but you'll drink for my birthday, or but we've got tickets for that, or as if I was going to be a better person, or because I drank, I'm not a better. And when I did keep going on the nights out in the beginning, now it has evolved that I don't love that type of setting, etc. You just find yourself more. My friendship groups have changed. My hardcore drinking buddies, I'm no longer like so in touch with, etc. But it was gradual. It wasn't sudden. But there was there's a definite I can get a wee bit frustrated when I see folk goading other folk into drinking, because I just think you don't actually know what you're activating for that person there, especially if you're at two wines and you can then stop. But a lot of people, it's then going to be what you've kind of opened for them is that they're really into it now for at least the rest of that night, even just. But so the reaction, you had to be really that's why just none is easier for me, because it just was like, it became a thing. I made it a thing, you know. So then it got challenged less, because it would be like, and I'd find ways to show that I did value that person as much, and I'll be present, and I'll be with you, and I'll be on the night out, and I'll be fun. But I'll at 10 o'clock look round and go, holy shit, is that what I look like when I drank? Like, I want to go home to my bed, because I'll just be naturally tired, and you can see things you never saw. But it didn't go down great. My husband, that was interesting. So he's now stopped drinking too, but like that, well, he's done a couple of, but I think that was like maybe within the last year. But obviously he for a long time still drank and liked this party lifestyle and had that party, and I wouldn't take that from him. You can't. At one point when I was banging on about imbibing ethanol, that comes with this book. So this book helps you to see alcohol for what it really is, because it's for people that want to stop. It's like you use these strategies to stop, and that's one of the ways you break it down to its lowest common form. And that was her thing, was you're just imbibing ethanol. It's a poison, it's a toxin, there's no safe level, all that stuff, you know, that we don't often see. We see the government safe level of 14 units. It's not a recommended level. It's just above 14's hazardous drinking, below 14's
not
drinking.
hazardous.
It's not harmful. It's not like it's good. So that there is that bit, you're shoving a mirror in people's faces of something that generally society doesn't want to acknowledge or look at. That it's not necessarily as innocuous as it first seems, and people who enjoy alcohol don't necessarily want to hear that message, because they're like, well, fuck off. Do you know what I mean? I manage it just because you couldn't. And I get that. Well, I have my 2 whiskies of a Friday night. Why should, because I couldn't control my drinking in a way I wanted to, that impinge on someone else's lifestyle or whatever, that manage it and feel comfortable with it and fits with their values, and we all take health risks, you know, so aye. But the bit when at one point, surprisingly, I got a bit too much with my kind of, that was me retraining my brain, but my husband was a bit like, I can't listen to you talk about imbibing ethanol anymore. I'm having a pint here and I'm not imbibing ethanol. I'm like, yeah. But however, it's interesting in terms of behaviour change, because over the years, he's seen obviously the benefits I've got for this, and gradually, and he very much is quite, he's younger than me, but quite old fashioned, and he's I drink, but now listen to him talk about, like, it's interesting what he absorbs, like what he now observes about excess drinking. He doesn't want to go back to that. Do you know? We're both just quite enthusiastic people, but it's quite good our marriage survived. It's because it's my 3rd marriage, so if it hadn't survived, my mum would have killed me. I'm not allowed to be divorced again. I'd have to be widowed. Well, I know. Oh, that's a really good question. Aye. So, because obviously,
can I just ask what age are your kids?
16 and 17. So, realistically,
lead into that. Is a 16-year-old drinking? Because we all did it.
Aye, that's what I was going to say. Like, realistically, they're already at the age. So, 16-year-old, my son, dead against it. Hates drinking. Hates being around people that are drinking. Loves football. Loves CrossFit.
They come across that
and he's very for him, like, not a, like, it's, he just doesn't like it. He doesn't like drunk people, but for that stuff his childhood as well. Not so much my drinking, but other, being around people, etc. It's just not for him. I really do hope, because it would be so cool if he stuck with that. It'd be so much easier for him if he did.
Do you think he's went like that because you've been drinking?
I don't
see you drinking. My son doesn't drink either.
I don't think
I did this because of you.
I don't, because I don't
My brother
think.
acted like that.
Aye.
Especially when my mum didn't see it.
Aye.
My mum thought that the sunshine out Scott's house.
Yeah.
But actually, it was pissed all the time.
So I must admit, my son, I don't think he saw negative from my drinking, partly because it didn't really happen around him often, but he has seen it in other settings, so maybe a wee bit of that. I think there's been times he's been around people where he's not felt particularly safe because of their drinking, etc.
But he does also love football.
He's
and
fitness,
anything that
he's got an
interferes.
asset, yeah. So for him, he's like, why
Yeah.
would you even do that? Like, so I'm glad that I don't drink, because I think I'm at the age that, like my daughter, would we drink together now? Probably, if I still drank. I wouldn't say she's never drank nor nearly puff, but it's something she now naturally seems to be coming away from after that kind of standard rebellious adolescent phase. But she's like, I do like it, Mum. Like so. I'm glad, because you can only lead by example and hope. I went to a wellbeing thing when I sort of first stopped drinking, and it was Professor David Nutt. Now, he was actually the UK government's alcohol and drugs czar, but he's not now, because the government basically didn't like what he came up with, because obviously the government makes a lot of money from like drink sales, etc. So anyway, he's a really knowledgeable guy, and I asked a question. My question was, would I do? There's my drinking, but there's also drinking familial on the other family side. So biologically, they're at genetic risk of what I would call like alcohol, how would you put it? Not alcohol use disorder, but alcohol dependence syndrome, right? Like I wouldn't say alcoholic. I do think it's a term that's sailing us up the river to say they're alcoholics and you're fine, you know. However, they are at risk of that from a great-grandparent to grandparent to father, etc. So we can't ignore that. His answer was, gosh, that's difficult. And I was like, thanks. But it was along the lines of, well, by you not drinking, you're doing what's within your control. And them being aware of that in terms of having not, but not in a self-fulfilling prophecy. So it's been a really tricky one. They've had to know that if I had my way, I would have locked them up and never let them, like Sleeping Beauty, have a drink till they were 21 at least, because we know the damage it does to the developing teenage brain, right? And we know how risky it is. Right at the stage when you do want to drink, or go for it, or risk take, is the stage when you're most harmed from it. It's like one of those, and least likely to learn from it when it's went wrong. So it hasn't been easy. I've had to bite my tongue. You can't be too controlling. I don't want to be dragged to a bill. My daughter's a game of opposites. If you tell her no, she's But also be really, really honest about, here's why I feel like that. Do you know? And so far, so good. But I think like it's interesting because I look at my son and I think, do you have quite an addictive personality? Like me and him can sit and talk about like a ward or like the football game or like, and Pepsi's, oh my God, if Pepsi Max was lagers, he'd be right back. You know, it's like the constant, he's now got his own bin for them. Like, so there is that like, oh, like sweeties, that wee addictive personality bit. So I'm glad he's the one that hasn't even wanted to experiment with it, because I suspect he would be slightly more at risk possibly than my daughter, who I don't think has got that about her, but she did do
She's just
experiment.
been rebellious as opposed to addictive personality. Thing.
So I can't think the last time she drank. It's been ages. But I doubt, I would believe that she'll drink. Like there'll be a night out, she'll go, and I just sort of have to not get too uptight about it.
But a lot of the young ones, you said already, are not drinking, aren't they? I think they've...
Aye, but they go to these kinds of things. Although when my younger daughter started drinking, she was about 14, 15 when she came up to town. But she went somewhere. It was above
Austin's?
No, down on Graham's Road, there was a disco up above that.
Oh, aye.
So she was dropped off there, and we knew she was having a drink, and she was picked up after that and then brought home. She wasn't one of them that was out in the park.
Aye.
Like us.
Aye.
Yeah, like us.
I think that was our era though, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and I think the era that drinks the most now, that's got the most alcohol consumption,
and the ones that did it.
is our age.
And we had it.
Yeah.
When both my kids, I let them have drinking things with me at 15, 16. My youngest will take it or leave it. You know, he'll go out and he'll have a drink or a couple of drinks, leave it. Not my oldest, she's like me, she'll drink like a fish. But again, it's they've learned the moderation of it a little bit. So they can both take it or leave it a little bit. Well,
But do you not, sorry, don't steal your thunder. Do you not find that the younger generation, alcohol's the least of their ones? No, I don't mean that. There is other things that
a car can't pass you now, you would smell marijuana. So that's so it's just moved from one thing to the other.
It's difficult. There is a thing you were saying about that gene, like your great grandfather and your grandfather and all that, and it's that like your genes will load the gun, your lifestyle will pull the trigger. And it's the same with type 2 diabetes, it's the same, not diabetes, type 2 diabetes, it's the same with obesity as well, that you could be predisposed to it.
But it's not guaranteed.
And it's not that black and white, because saying it's your lifestyle that switches that gene on or not, that implies that you've got a choice. And we've always got choices, but it depends what environment you're in, who you're surrounded with. Do you know what I mean? And for somebody like 16, 17 to clear out their whole environment so that they don't take a drink or what is virtually impossible.
Yeah,
it's hard.
Like
it's so hard
about navigating, and I don't think alcohol's not like a one drink and you're on the road to doomsday. It's cumulative. It's over time. It's also what else, like what protective factors have you got in your life? So obviously, I'm really like lucky and privileged that I was able to make a change, and it took a bit of willpower, definitely at the beginning, but also I instantly knew this is going to be brilliant. Like I instantly knew that the life that I wanted was sitting there and I can access it. You know, it wasn't in extreme deprivation or totally isolated or living with, obviously there's trauma, but not like the type of active trauma that you had to escape from instantly through drink or whatever, do you know? So it is that, like, there is that luckiness that, well, it's quite easy then to get all the benefits, whereas that must be a much more difficult thing to convince somebody of. I knew straight away, if I do this will be great. I'll be able to make changes, get healthy, feel good, be happy, like drive change, maybe influence others. And I love that my 2 teenagers are like basically don't drink. Like I love that my husband's now doing this as well. I'm like, God, this is brilliant. Like, and I feel like, I've pathway led that a bit. But a lot of that was made really, really easy for me, and it's there but for the grace of God, because who knows, but I always keep in mind, there's my books, I always keep in mind but could this all change? You know, you don't want to ride high on your horse and think you're better.
Was there any bit that you got to, like you obviously, you've got to be really motivated to keep that going, that you went, stuck this is just too hard. And I don't mean fall off the wagon. Like obviously you said you had 6 days, 6 times over that period. Was there any of those times that you just went, this is me now? And
a wee
and
bit.
It went on for 2-3 days or whatever. But actually, do you know what? It's just too. A wee
bit. Like the 6 times are quite interesting. The first one was really accidental at the festival. Then I was on holiday and it was like a glass of wine. It was France and it was totally fine. I can't maybe remember them all. Autumn time was quite triggering. Pubs in autumn time, pints and pubs and fires, not chaos.
Fires.
Yeah, because it was like a coziness.
Yeah.
So that I had a couple of drinks up at the canal side. We lived in Pullman at the time. But the one where it was close was we moved house again, and I'd had multiple moves, so that between traumas maybe dramatic for moving house, but it was a triggering event from other ones that had happened before that had been in quite traumatic circumstances. Like, so it definitely was triggering. Oh my God, yet again we're moving. And that was at Christmas. It was the 19th of December we moved.
Just a bit on that to give you a bit of context as well. So when you're in a situation like that, your brain doesn't just remember the situation, it remembers like 5 weeks before so that's why you're more likely to give in, because it's the whole like time scale. It doesn't just remember that event of moving house. So if you were drinking
because when we moved the last time, I got at that point through my work I had coaching, which was brilliant, which is why I went and did my coaching thing, little plug. I remember speaking to the support and supervision coach person online at the time, just before we moved. That was 3 years ago now, to the house we live in now. And I raised it as I'm nervous, I have a worry that I could derail, because I know that moving, because there have been just so many moves through their childhoods, like from leaving my husband to finding the one I'm with now. Not finding, it wasn't fun for him. To be fair, it would be accidental, but you know. That was a worry. Like, so I suppose, and it was interesting that my last derailment, I actually thought, like, I remember because I woke up on the 1st of January 2020 wanting to not wake up. Well, not that dramatic, but it was horrendous. I drank on Hug My Knee 2019 because we'd moved just a few days, a week before or whatever. We'd also moved next door to a pal, which it was great, but there was more social and it was all just there. And I remember then when COVID happened and I was like, was that my fault? Because I woke up in 2020 in a bad way. I don't know who I think I am.
Well,
I caused COVID.
well
I know, but I'd woken up in 2020 on the 1st of January with my face on the bathroom floor, like thinking, oh dear God, this is the worst nightmare. I still have dreams that I've drank and they're not good dreams. They're like you wake up like, oh no. But it's not so much like temptation, it was more like, it feels more like, oh, it happened to me. Aye. So no.
If you're sitting here just now chatting to us about the circumstances and whatever, and you were leaving here to go out tonight to a social event,
yes,
how would you be feeling just now?
Pretty much fine. It's been a long time since I've had a glimmer or a craving. The last one was in Centre Parks. Again, it's that holiday association, people in place. It was quite weird because it was the autumn time and the pub bit, it was the one further away, Sherwood. We went outside and my husband was drinking and my stepson was drinking. I think actually my daughter may also have been drinking, but I don't know. I didn't investigate. She did suspicious black, couldn't look and drink, but anyway. And all these other people were drinking and the sun was shining down and it was like it was shining on all the wine in pint glasses. And it was almost like a hallucination. I was like, oh, people were smoking and it smelled good. Like, which it doesn't, but so that was the last I call it a glimmer or something, of what would be like a craving. But what I found out, and I never knew before I stopped, was that cravings only last about 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So see if you just sit it out, oh, you're fine. Like, so, like, but I didn't know that because I just met my cravings. I just had a fag or went to the pub or, so yeah, imagine being that old and finding like a glass of water or going outside, you can help shift, same with hunger.
But would you get excited about going out tonight with people it was a very social situation, or would you take yourself away from that? Or if you don't get any pals that do that anyway.
I don't tend, I'm not probably as super social as what I thought I was. I don't do well in groups and I probably never really did, do you know? I can love it, but I think it genuinely energetically takes quite a lot out of me anyway. I like a one-to-one. I'm an only child. I'm quite I don't
selfish.
Me.
I'm getting heckled. Leave the only children alone.
Didn't like to share. I'm having the full bottle to myself.
I know. I was an only grandchild as well, so I grew up. I grew up around, like, there was my mum, my gran and my grandpa. Like, I didn't live with them, but like, so they didn't have any other grandchildren. So if anybody was doing anything interesting, it was me, like, going to high school or going to uni, or do you know, it was that like it wasn't like they did not spoil me, but I grew up with a world view where I was the centre of it. I'm quite bad at offering folk a cup of tea because I don't always realise it's not a horrible personality trait, like coming from a place of malice, but I have to be mindful of it, like that I'm not just the obsession.
I don't offer people a cup of tea either. I always tell people that.
Case the same, got the state.
I know.
Make me a cup of tea tonight, and like that, I'm going to make you go.
See, before you gave up on like 2018, had you thought about it before? And had you tried?
Yeah.
Because it's like, what made you look forward? Because you're saying that you really, you were excited by it. And like that, I can't understand that. So I'm like, did you think? No, but I just mean,
I know what
did
you
you
mean.
think about it like quite a few times before?
Yeah.
Like, and
Well, I lived with shame. Like, I lived with shame and knowing that I'd overdone it, that I wasn't my best, that I was like having to now really drag my ass through a week instead of function well through a week. See, when I learned to play it forward, like when I learned to like go, right, it's Friday night, the deputy's saying, get to the pub. She's saying, have a drink, it's all good, you've been validated. Husband's like, hey, let's meet in the pub. Like, kids are away till Sunday night, you are right window, got an empty. Like, go to the pub. like, imagine that, right? What do? You dump your bag, you get a Heineken, then you get another one, and then another one, and then do we eat? No, we didn't. We just keep drinking. Then the pub shuts, and then like what we're doing. Then I'm telling everybody in the pub, we've got an empty because I'm so pally with everyone now. Do you know, like, oh, then you're gonna play that for. You'll not get to bed. What time might you actually stop for? Like, is that you no sleep? You're gonna go to bed at 4. You're gonna wake up mid-morning, hating yourself. You've missed getting your nails done. You're an unreliable person because, like, you know that way. Like, I've not functioned well. And then I could play forward, like, right, let's just delay gratification a wee bit. Go home, like, have something to eat, rest and digest, no macaroni, and see what you feel like, and make a decision, an informed, full-tummied decision then, and then play forward, what if we don't then go out to the pub? What if you get a bath and you go to your bed and you get good sleep and then you wake up fresh in the morning and your day's great because you've went to bed about 10 and you're waking up about 6:30 and you can light that candle and read that book and sit there and go, oh, I didn't call anyone a wanker last night. I didn't like, do you know that way? That
Did you never have that prior to your drinking? Do you know, like, if I was going out drinking this weekend, I'd be like, right, better not make a tit of myself, and I should probably only have one drink, and I better not say that to that person. And I would already now be having like pre-anxiety for tomorrow. I was already anxious about what a total cunt I would be.
Have you always
Like, it's,
but Emma, is that something that you've always felt like when you've drank, or is that, do you think that's just in the last, say, 4 or 5 years or something? Because I would say that's me.
I think it's something
In
I'm
the last
more
few
aware
years.
of in the
Aye.
last few years,
But when I
but
was
it's
younger, I was
definitely
like-
something that I've always done.
I guess I've
I've
never
always
got
had that
there.
kind of after fear, which then gives me the kind of right shit, that, like, no, like, this is going to be a good one. I'm going to have like 5 pints of my pals, I'm going to be on fire, it's going to be fucking great. And then it's not, because like,
Russian
because
roulette.
you know, you have your 4th pint and suddenly you're greeting, or
Aye.
you're angry, or
Aye.
you're not as funny as you think you are.
So
And then I would have that, like, if I was
before,
going out tonight, I would have that fear now. If I was going to drink, I would be thinking,
Yeah.
right, I really need to rein that in.
this book's really interesting in how it talks about the process of your first drink, your second drink, your third drink, at what point you're not in control. The idea that you can rein it in, but I believe
So I
that
was wondering what you felt when you were
Aye.
listening to people talking about their children doing that, like the
Aye.
idea that you can like go for a cocktail with your daughter and it's fine, but actually they're quite young still for that, and then them doing that with you is quite influential, and they're kind of drinking. I'm not judging both my children drink far too much sometimes, but do you know that way? I think, you know, or like we drop them off and then we pick them up. Like I would drop my kids off and pick them up, but then am I
Enabling them.
facilitating the
Yeah.
drinking because I know they're safe, they know they're safe, but actually
so mine.
really the impact alcohol's having on them.
Aye, so mine know all my views, right? Because I can't undo my views now. Like I can't undo how I see alcohol now. Like if I could be dead pushy and evangelical about it, like I would. Like I want you all to say I'm just not going to drink. I would want that because I believe it's best. I know I can't do that, and I know that's like the promise was that wasn't. But for transparency, I just would love everybody to live with it because I think it would be so good for them. So my kids know that I'll avoid that type of like enabling or whatever we call it, facility as much as possible. Like they know I'm never going to be the one buying them drink, like ever, do you know, because I have to sort of stand by. They know I think it's a much harsher substance than society portrays it to be. Like, but I'm not too preachy. They also know I'll never judge them and I'll always be there for, you know, it's like, it's not that it's not a looking down on, it's just like they know I would find that hard, and I'd find it hard to be around them with them drinking probably. I don't find it hard to be around other people drinking, and it's not, there's no bit where I think, apart from the generic, oh wow, look at people really losing it, like nothing good ever happens after 10 o'clock at night, it's just a thing in my head that, do you know, because that tends to be the tail off point. People need their beds if you've been up since early doors and all that. So I don't know, it's an interesting one. But the pre-anxiety is interesting about like this time it'll be good. I'm going to like not.
I get that because I always say, right, that's it. I'm going to be good today. I'm not going to
Unleash the beast.
basically.
Substitute stuff like that.
But it never works.
No.
So,
Did you ever feel that your drinking was going to go to another level? That you were going to become a non-functioning alcoholic?
Yeah.
I know you don't like that word, but
No, I know, but we know what we mean by
because
that.
my friend is an alcoholic. For 9 years
Yeah.
now, she's had to take a tablet every day to stop her drinking.
So I believe that, see, this is, so part of my thing about the term is that that is available to everyone, that level of drinking. Like, I don't think that that's within the person, that there's like a flawed or addictive personality per se. If anybody drinks to excess over long periods of time, that is how alcohol works. It works its way deeper and deeper into the physiology and your psyche and everything. So was I at risk? Yes. Do I think that I was close to, like you say, having the drink on the Monday? Or I don't know if for me it would always have manifested in this bingey way, and it might never have became. Like, I think that I might always have not actually wanted. Like, there would be a point in time when I would be like, oh no, like some folk, say if we woke up and there was folk in the house and they'd still want to keep drinking in the morning and I like wouldn't, do you know? But I think over time, potentially, yeah, I think that is the trajectory
Because
of
this
dead.
person would drink 2 bottles of wine, that's what it's saying.
Like that yeah. I wonder whether we that is this sort of like, we sort of cling because we use that person to tell us that we are fine. And see, when you do an alcohol audit, so when I did an alcohol audit, the problem is if you jump online to do a little quiz like, what am I drinking? Drinkaware is an alcohol industry funded organisation, and you will come away thinking you're fine and keep drinking because it's not daily. It will tell you probably want to cut down, but they're all about they get everybody to moderate because they don't want folk to stop. That worries me. I think that's quite sinister in a sense.
I think, so I'm not measuring myself against this person, but I always think, when did we not notice this?
Yeah, hides in plain sight.
When did we not notice that it was getting this bad for her?
And I think it's a lot. We do a lot of comparators, and like, do you know when everyone has a dessert and you have a dessert? Like, there's a bit of just that social norm stuff, and I think that's why. Well, I wasn't a problem drinker because I used to get people would be like, "Well, you're an alcoholic." It's not like I'm saying no because I'm like, "Oh no," I mean, but like, no, because I just don't think that we've got this yes or no answer. Like, I just think that it became really clear for me that continuing to drink was not wise. In terms of the way that I drank. But that brings me back to that we are the luckiest. So I think then people will go, well, she obviously just overdid it. She had a problem with it. She had to stop, but I don't need to stop because I don't fill my house with people after a night out or whatever. But I think it's from being blessed of being the person that could be really manage it so well that I've now got to feel how bloody brilliant it is to not have it at all. Because see, in the times when not everyone was a big bender, the times when I drank not to excess and in a moderate way, the alcohol still kills your REM sleep, whether you've had like a drink or a big drink. I actually was shocked when I did try to moderate in the pre-contemplative stage a couple of years before, and then those 6 times after the 3 that were fine, how shitty you felt from a low-level drink. And I think that's because we underestimate the power of the substance.
Did you find it harder to stay stopped after your glass of wine in France? Nice dinner, nice glass of wine, and then everything was fine and there was no like excess? So then actually maybe it's all right and I could do that.
Yeah, a wee bit. Yeah, I'm grateful for the 3 times that made it clear to me this is Russian roulette and it's not a game worth continuing to play because that just ain't worth that. See, a really interesting thing. See, in my first 175 days, I can't remember exactly how far into that, but I started to have like the wildest and most vivid of dreams. And that was so I was processing stuff that had happened from my divorce, from pre-divorce, because I had blocked all that emotional processing with this weekend, not even every weekend, but weekend drinking. So I had not had the quality of sleep, and I'd also not dealt with things in the right way. So like my grand's death, what did we do? At that point I drank, we went out. What did we do after the funeral? We drank. So I had blocked significant life events through not crazy levels of drinking, but just drinking nights out. And then all of that came back, like that elated, fluffy pink cloud syndrome feeling of getting alcohol right out your system and feeling bloody great for it. The dreams were really indicative. So some of those were like messages of, why would you give this up now? Like, do you know, it's almost like you become wired to that way of life. And I think that's why for me it was easy to make it a thing. But now it's a thing that I'm totally willing to speak about openly. But it's such a taboo. It was so taboo at the time, particularly with my role in teaching. There'll be tons of teachers with problematic drinking, tons. And they can't say, because the GTC, and did I contraindicate my GTC registration? No. Was I a bad teacher? No, I was a bloody good teacher. I did really well in that role, in that job. Like, despite the adversity of having not had the best weekend to prep for it, I was a better one once I'd stopped. But it's interesting, the bit about the shame, the bit about the taboo. So as much as I was really clear that I'm no longer drinking, I wouldn't have spoke about all of this back in the beginning, do you know, in terms of...
I was just going
to ask, were you a happy drunk?
Oh God, aye. Oh no, I was lovely. I know, like I had a lot to say, yeah, and some home truths you maybe didn't want to hear because I'd do you know what I was like going to see a psychic? But folk loved it. There was one guy once at there was a guy at the bar once. And I don't know, he did something arsey, and I totally called him out on it. And I was like, I think like you've got absolute childhood trauma. Like it was weird. It was just like I used to like doing things like that, but that's rude. Who the hell am I to talk to some guy at the bar and start tapping away at the fact that he was adopted and his mother drank and all that? He was crying. He didn't know what to do with me because he thought he was like, do you know that's not appropriate, Ailsa. So apart from maybe doing those things. Happy, like enjoy, like, but I didn't need the drink. Nobody does. Some people who are shy will maybe say, "Oh, but I need it to." You genuinely, definitely don't. You need something else. Same with relaxing. Absolutely not a relaxing. Do you know? It's like it's a interesting picture we've been sold as to what it will do for you.
It's not a relaxing. It doesn't make you fall asleep better.
No.
It doesn't make you a better person.
Did anybody else speak to you about your drinking? Or was it?
Ooh, that's a good question.
No, but I surrounded myself with people like when you drink and you want to keep drinking, especially if you are at the higher up end of like an alcohol dependent syndrome, which is, I know it sounds really unnatural to not say alcoholic and to say somebody with alcohol dependent syndrome, but I do think I don't expect other people to do that, but I will do that because it's alcoholic is a blame term.
I find that she lives with alcoholism.
Yeah. Because we know that about language, that you know, like living with overweight. Not that you're not fat, you're not obese, you're living with overweight, and that's not a permanent. You're not a smoker, you're a person that smokes, because it's not a permanent thing about you. So all of that probably does matter. But I think, what was I saying about when you're higher up?
Surrounded yourself with people.
Your brain is sophisticated and it will do anything to continue the drinking. So that will include like lies, it will include like borrowing money, because that's what that subconscious part of the brain will do. It will create the circumstances to lead the lifestyle that you're currently in. And that's why you could piss somebody off all this sober chat, because if their brain's in that state, they don't want to fucking hear how great you feel. Fuck off, Ailsa, I'm not interested. And it's not going to go down well in the messaging. And that makes perfect sense, because it's a genuine physiological need to continue to drink, etc., or whatever it is. Aye.
You just wouldn't have surrounded yourself with people
that were called
that
you.
might have called you.
Aye. I wonder, my mum probably, but I genuinely, it's amazing how well you can
hide it.
Function, and do you know when you know that you've fucked up? It's amazing how overcompensatory you can then be in terms of making sure you are damn good at your job and that the house is tidy and the kids are fine, and you know. So no, it wasn't like probably at that level of concern. It definitely was an internal like driver to live different. Weight loss, I wanted weight loss, and I knew that there was no way that could, because consistency, you don't consistently. I'll be dead honest. I can get frustrated with health and fitness people on Insta, etc., that post themselves drinking, and particularly at Christmas, or have your nights out, but make the gym, because I'm like, but the night out will mean that person doesn't make the gym. Do you know what it's like? So I can get a little bit like, I don't like that message, and I've unfollowed a few people where I think that if you're saying you can drive forward good change for people and you want them to be consistent in exercise, I don't think alcohol sits alongside that realistically. I suppose it's just the way I've changed myself to look at it. But
Yeah, fair enough.
Do you not get bored? No drinking.
no, I've been more bored drinking.
But like on a Saturday night, you just get bored sitting in the house watching the telly.
No,
and
because
not doing anything else.
I'm tired. Do you know that way? So like,
I know what you're
Aye.
saying. It's like, well, that'll pass the time because there's fuck all on the telly. So I go to my bed.
I suppose it's like, what?
Like you could be alright for a weekend.
Yeah.
For 6 months and go, oh,
You need to filter, so it's got to be,
You need to
well,
find something
I
to
say,
filter.
aye. So, like the gym, like that's every morning. So my husband's found that as well. Like the thing that I think for him, he now goes to the gym like every day, pretty much, right? Not because you meant to have a rest day, but apparently it alternates up on the lower body, so it's fine or whatever. I don't know. He's
It's
looking,
not across
he's
that.
looking
So
good,
it's
right? He's also lost a shit ton of weight, so he's it's, oh god, honestly, the difference in like visually how we look compared to, but anyway. So he's grounded his brain with that physical activity. So bedtime's bedtime. I do tend to go to bed at the same time every day. Get up at 5 because I go to the 6:15 class. I don't get up at 5 on a Saturday, but I tend to wake around 6. So bedtime's like 9. I mean, I suppose, like, how am I not bored? Just I keep busy. It is important. Like what's going to be filling your life? Because if you're clearing space, what do you want in it? And I believe there's something everybody wants in it. I do. I think that it's find your why, find your passion, find your drive. Or see, when you look at the recovery stuff, right? So one of the slides in the training that I do for like young people, adults talking to young people, it talks about like, well, what do you have that, like, as in it's like exercise, nature, spending time with animals, cooking, baking, like what stuff's good for you to not get stressed out, to then not want to either vape or crochet, keep your hands busy. Like, so that slide, when I looked at that slide for the first time when I started working for the organisation, I was like, oh my God, that living in the grey. I hadn't been out in nature. Sometimes I didn't see much daylight. Like, I had missed all those things. And then I look at this slide, I'm like, we've got 2 dogs now. I do exercise, it's really important to me. I like getting up Ladbroke Woods. I'm not the most nature person, but one of them is volunteer and be of service. And that's quite a kind of common recovery pillar. And being of service was important to me. And I suppose that also fits into how do you make sure you're not bored? Because on a Saturday, you're ready for your bed because you filled your week. And what have you got to give? What's going to light you up, and what can you add, and what can you do? I know I listen to podcasts because I'm quite a possibly ADHD-ish type person. I don't mean to diagnose myself, but I need constant as well of CrossFit. It changes all the time. So yeah, you do need to think about, well, what's coming in, but until you clear the space, you can't get the new bits in. Do you know?
Did you not find that difficult then? So see your husband, because I keep talking about not drinking, and there's no chance in this earth my husband's going to stop. And I then think, what if I stop and he doesn't? How do we find a common ground, and how do you find?
Because I surviving it, like, because I stopped 7 years ago, and he took a lot longer, and I never thought he has to stop. Like, I would have said what you said there. He'll never stop. I would have absolutely said that. But it has evolved. So we are quite independent. We are quite like. His drinking then would take place like outside the house, like he'd go off for a weekend away with the boys. About like sometimes I'd be annoyed when he was a burst bloody ball, like, do you know, I'd be like because it's annoying. Like, well, look what you've done, you now are a crabbit bastard with me because you were out all weekend at a stag thing. So I could get a wee bit annoyed with it, but it didn't become that big a deal. But then we are quite independent, so My happiness didn't depend on him. Would I have left him if I'd had to? Aye, like for a better life. Like I'm so I say that flippantly. I'm so happy that we're in such a good place. And I'm grateful, and he's a supporter, and like I think the world of him. But had his drinking went the other way, would I have lived with somebody that's drinking was just ridiculous and shitting all over everybody else in the house? No, I wouldn't have. And I suppose I did take a risk at one point. It wasn't always dead cert that it would work out nice and happy for the two of us. And there was probably times when I was thinking, on right move, you know, like, fancy being single. I might yet move in here, it's bloody lovely. But you know, it was that
Would that stop you trying to stop
Oh,
drinking?
no, there's loads of other things. I get pure fear of missing out if I'd stopped drinking. Like,
I did get FOMO.
I think one of the big things is I've got a tendency to fall and hurt myself. And I think it just keeps gradually getting worse. And I think, oh my god, one of these things
You're actually going to die.
I'm going to really injure myself, and all because I couldn't say no to the last glass of wine.
I came off socials a bit in the beginning, and I don't really like social media. That's a different thing, but that's another podcast. But selling an ex. But I did get FOMO. I had to sit with that. I had to really exercise. Like you had to really break it down to the only moment that really matters is now. Are you fine in this room? Do you have what you need? Like gratitude shit, you know, like I don't love gratitude practice because I think sometimes it can be a bit toxically positive, but it can just be helpful to ground yourself, like the hand creams, the smells, the herbal teas, the small things, that joy of the ordinary stuff. I had to teach myself to lower my expectations about what fun was. And then I had to really analyse what does missing out mean, do you know? But I did. It's not like I didn't have it. Like I do get what you mean.
It's maybe a bit like, you know, when you make that conscious decision and you say, I'm not going to drink anymore, and you crave it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so I'm going to be a vegetarian and you crave a bacon sandwich. So, you know, that kind of,
I'm going to cut out chocolate and then you eat all the chocolate.
So don't make that decision, I'm not going to do it. It's just a case of just let it happen.
Yes, my husband did that with smoking. We used to smoke 40 cigarettes a day and he stopped. One day I said to him, you've left cigarettes here. He's like, yeah, I don't smoke. He didn't say it stopped.
Oh, I love that.
He said, I don't smoke. And he's never had a cigarette since, except once when he crashed his van at work, years and years later. And he had 3 cigarettes rapid from the but then never ever another one. But that day that he left his cigarettes, he didn't say no, stop, and he said, I don't smoke.
That, yeah.
What you said, I suppose, about like you're not punishing yourself for having that cigarette or that big roll or whatever. Like you say all the time with your nutrition stuff, you're like, have your Fredo.
Yeah, it's portion control you need to practice. Maybe, do you know what I mean? Like for some people, depends on what way your brain's wired. For some people, a hard no, that's what will work for them. For other people, that's what will tip them over the edge. Do you know what I mean? And it's about if you're not going to try, and I'm not being a wido when I say that, but if you're not going to try, or you're not going to practice, or you're not going to choose to spend one night without a drink, you're never going to actually know what works. If you say no and then have a drink the next day, right? Fucking so what? Do you know what I mean? So what?
Right, so it's the thing is once the bottle's open, if it's wine or fizz or whatever, and you've got to finish it. So I used to go to Tesco's and buy the wee ones, and because once that bottle's open, well, you're only having one glass and a half, and that's it. So even just doing
portion control.
No, I'm not buying one. I'm only buying one. It's a wee bit like the thing it's that in the supermarket. Well, if I buy that, and you know, then I'm going to eat. Well, I'll have a wee treat night, and then I walk through Tesco's and I go, no, I'm not going.
So moderation works for you. You find moderation exhausting.
On all things, like I'm all in. Like I can't
all sugar and all shite.
And that's a definite trait. Like I do, because we hear that everything in moderation, and I think I wish I'd never told myself that my whole life. I wish I'd worked out earlier that I really struggle to moderate. And so I need to therefore just be mindful of that. I'm a bit better now. I had to have one macaroon so far, but if you didn't eat them.
Why do you think the Scottish drinking culture is such a big thing though? Because we're notoriously
Take a drink.
Have a drink, take a drink, pride over drinking.
Do you think it's because we lack vitamin D?
Yes.
No.
Yes. I genuinely do. I think because like your nights are darker. Like so, my daughter is in California just now, and the Irish and Scottish contingent they drink quite a lot of drinks. The Californians drink 2 or 3 drinks. I'm like, oh my god, I'm so tipsy, I have to go home. And the Irish and that are all like, we haven't even started. But I do think it's because of the darker night. Do you know, it's like you say,
You go in
the kind of
that
boredom thing. Yeah, but also that boredom thing. If you're in your house at 4 o'clock at night and it's pitch black outside and it's bucketing the rain and you don't want to go anywhere, well, how do you fill like the next 6 hours of your night? You know, you could do all your laundry, your washing, your hoovering, you could chat to your hubby a wee bit, you could phone your children and annoy them, but then you've still got like 5 hours.
When we moved to Orkney, the first thing, we met this guy and his wife, I knew his wife before, and Santa said to Mark, you'll find there's a drinking culture here. Because it's dark in the winter, well, come October, it's dark at 3 o'clock until 10 o'clock in the morning. And the winters are cold, and they're long, and they're hard.
And there's something
And so
about
there's
night time. You can hide.
There's big parties in town halls where you can have a can of Tennent's, a can of Tennent's special, or vodka, whiskey, gin with the worst bottles of flipping flat mix and but you know, and that's what people do. However, but lots of people have to drive, so there's lots of non-drinkers, but there's also lots of people that just get hammered all the time.
But then do you not think when the sun comes out, you just want to sit with a glass of white wine when I can
I've had that craving as well, beer garden.
I'm off for a spritz.
Kind of cider and a beer garden.
Like, see in the winter, like at night, I'm like, right, a glass of wine when it gets dark, but in the summer, I'm like, 11 o'clock, let's go. Like, work's done.
No, I think with the alcohol in the summer, I don't know what it is, but I can't, you wouldn't believe this, but I can't drink as much when you're out in the sunshine. So maybe that's part of the culture.
When we went on that walk to Linlithgow and we were in that way, I was having 1 beer.
Where did you have?
6.
We were all drinking the neck oil. That was it. We were on the neck oil.
That was the walk that caused it.
The sunshine, the chat, the fun, and everybody did it. I was having 1 beer at 6. I picked me up, was like, you did not have 1 beer.
So what do you do on the weekends when you've got or what did you do when your kids were with you at the weekends?
Oh, so like I would do kid things with them. Do you know, like when I drank? Do you mean when they were younger?
Yes.
Do kid things during the day, and then usually we'd have folk round, and they would love it because they'd be like, "Oh, is Auntie so and so coming in?" Do you know? But it was never. It was much more tempered. Like it wasn't like as.
So you still drank while?
Not every time, but often. Well, do you know? There's an interesting fact because initially not at all. I wouldn't drink at all on a kid-free weekend, and then it picked up a pace where
when you had the
kids, on a kid weekend, then it picked up its pace that we did, but it was more moderate. But then it was like, well, we did, and actually they're off to bed, and now it's like 2 in the morning, and I'm all right for them the next day, but not as great. So yeah, it picked up.
So you
its
weren't
pace.
really just drinking every second weekend. I'm not being
no.
judgy when I say that.
I would say the sort of like. Latterly it was, and probably that pre-contemplation that I need to make a change here was because I was realising that we were doing kid activities during the day, but I was really looking forward to at what point in time is it that we've got folk round. And I would say those weekends, I suppose in my mind, those weekends were never the chaos that would be worrying, like in terms of like it was a safe environment, they weren't going to bed scared or nothing ever happened that was dodge or like parties didn't go out of control but the other weekends were not kid environments. So I suppose there was a kid environment every second weekend in the home, but the actual drinking was then happening during that time.
How long did it take you to when you thought about it before? Was it like 6 months, or had it been a couple of years?
Probably a couple of years. Like as in like graduate. There was a long stage of knowing that change had to come, efforts to make nights better. Do you know, like efforts to rein it in that were like effortful. Like they were effortful as in like they took energy, but like they were, and certainly those kid weekends were definitely much more like have, you know, don't. But it was a long stage, and I do think that finally getting ill was like, it wasn't a big ill, it was just a flu. But I think that's what it was like. Just ride on the back of this now. Just do it. You've wanted to do it for all this time. Just do it and make it written in the sand. That's it.
If you Google the 6 stages of contemplation, right, so there is 6 stages of contemplation, right, and it's in a circle. So 3 of those stages are before you actually do anything about it, and it's quite common to ditter about. So you'll be like, I'm definitely doing it, oh my fucking God, I'm doing it, nah, I'm maybe just going to do it, nah, I'm fucking not doing it. Do you know what I mean? So it's an actual psychological thing. So if you Google it, 6 stages of contemplation, you'll see that it might make you feel a bit, I was going to say normal, but do you know what I mean? It might make you like you're not alone, and it's relevant to anything, whether it's drinking, smoking, cutting out takeaways, anything at all, getting a new job, anything.
I've not had a drink since the 29th of December.
Well,
no.
Tell now.
Because now I can think, I'm thinking,
could you go another?
Yeah, because I said to her earlier, I was like, she's brought a car, and I thought, that's probably quite good, because if she hadn't brought a car, I'd like, just go for a drink.
Yeah, but you'll
So
not do
that's
it,
fine.
because you've done it, like you've done it.
Yeah, but I don't know if
steps.
I'm not, I don't think I'm quite there yet to just
That's
sort of
what
give
I
it
mean.
up. No, and that's why I feel like
That's what I was saying earlier, though, that like a hard no is not for you. Like we're all here because I've been questioning me, and I don't think I'm ever going to say I am never going to drink it, even though I've said it many a time, right? But I don't think I'm actually ever going to say that, because there's a few situations that I might actually like a glass of wine.
But do you think that because of like Jill, like we went to the competition in Edinburgh and came back and had pints, and those pints were the best pints ever, right? And they were great, and we had a real laugh. So you think actually if you did that again, wouldn't it be nice to have a pint? But not necessarily. Like that was nice. But do you? But that's what I mean. Like, so do you want to have it because it was nice then?
Yeah.
Do you know, like if you go on holiday
So
with Cal and your friends to York?
At this moment in time, right now, the only time I can ever see myself having a drink again is if I'm on holiday with Cal, right, in the sun. Whether I do that or not, I don't know. Whether I'll have a drink before that, I don't know. But I'm now okay with being undecided. Whereas before or in a previous life, I would have been like, well, you need to decide. It needs to be a yes or a no. And I'm like, fucking no, it actually doesn't need to be a yes or a no. And it's suiting me just now, and that's okay.
Yeah. I had to make it a thing because of how I'm wired.
Yep.
Like, as in that healthy, I had a drinking identity. Like, I was always making the wee self-depreciating humour jokes about my drinking and now I have a non-drinking identity. Like your husband, like, I don't smoke. Like, I had to be like, I don't drink. That was part of putting boundaries in me. See, now when I think about what could make me drink, because I went so cheesily into this whole, like, lean into the joys and the senses, and now I'm like, if I can feel the sun beating on my face, be in a beautiful environment abroad, like, I'm like, well, why would I taint that by imbibing ethanol? That's because I rewired my brain. I don't know if that's me looking at it rationally. It's just, it's I've had to be strict on it.
And I think that you have. I mean, I've reframed my relationship with alcohol massively.
I would say most of us in this room have.
Yeah.
No, seriously.
I agree.
But one of the things that I did was I divorced some friends.
Yeah.
Because we used to have a really good, Mark and I were really friendly with this couple, because obviously it's a podcast.
Is it no? We're being recorded.
But we were really, really friendly with this couple, and they used to come to us most weekends because we had a young girl and they didn't have any family. So they come, but they didn't know where to go. And I would end up going to my fucking bed. Because, and I've always been one of these people, so I know because I would hate to be falling about the place. And so people would say,
I said, I've got my stomach pump back in.
People would say to Mark in the pub.
True story, by the way.
People would say to Mark in the pub, "Just feeling I need 3 hours to wait." She's waiting.
Like a kind of default. Aye.
Oh,
I would do that actually. Aye.
however, we had to stop. So what would happen is they would invite us places, and we'd say, "Oh, I'm really sorry, we're busy." And then they'd say, "Oh, will we come round this weekend?" And Mark say, "Oh no, Fiona's got loads of stuff on for work on Sunday," and blah blah. And eventually we got the message, and they stopped coming, because actually it wasn't like going for a few drinks, and it wasn't having like even a bottle of wine for them. Well, for my female friend, unless she drunk one of these like from 1.5 litre bottles and then was halfway through the second one, she hadn't had enough. Whereas I was like horizontal after like a normal bottle of wine, so I was never going to be home there. And I'm not a spirits drinker because I've never liked the taste. I love a cocktail now, and I would always say I would never take the cocktails with fruit juice. I like alcohol and alcohol, but I would have one, and I'd happily have one. Sitting in the sun with pints, I'd have 6.
It's interesting to like the taste. Like that's an interesting.
I love the taste of it,
Aye.
and that's why I drink it. I'm really fussy about wine. I would actually say in a pub, if I went to a pub and I wanted a glass of wine, if they didn't have what I liked, I'd say I'll have a water. Because I hate shit wine. I like a nice glass of Albarino at a right temperature, and that's what I like. Or a glass of Felpol Paso or something like, maybe even a bottle. But I'm not interested in.
So no peach compote.
What I wouldn't be interested in is going out to get pushed. Whereas before, it was my job that drove me to do that.
Do you find with I'm going to see you. So you're what, 44?
Yeah.
And you're 50. Well, so there's not much difference, right? I was thinking, and I'm not saying I thought you were older, but at your age, what?
I should.
No. What I was thinking was at your age, right, you've still got a lot to give to the world.
So do you, by the way.
I saw you. There is somebody 60 plus in the room. Or almost. Right. So we're kind of thinking, well, this is our time to enjoy life. But I would reckon most of us in here are at that age as well. We have changed because we could tell.
You'd be drinking like that at 44.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yes, we'd have been drinking probably like that. But I don't think at that time I ever considered storm. Every week when I made a point of myself, right, I did, but never ever really thought about it like you've gone into it, which I do find really fascinating.
See, like when I first stopped, I used to think about 80-year-old me. I do this, I still do this. Like I think of 80-year-old me and what I'm going to do for her to make sure that she can be really like my gran, like independent. If I fall, I can pick myself up. Like so, that was a definite like at 36 because obviously I wasn't. This has helped me with perimenopause definitely in terms of like feeling much better. But at 36, I wasn't thinking about that. That wasn't part of it. That was a wee while ago. But there definitely was a driver of thinking of my future self. And like like not immediate future, long term future.
But there's a lot more knowledge now for people of your age for going through menopause, etc. That kind of thing, so it could help us. Whereas at our age, last thing through, right? But people at our age,
allegedly,
no, everybody else doesn't think so.
No, exactly.
No, but people at our age when we went through.
Like challenging.
Perimenopause wasn't even a no.
When it was the menopause, we drank, we did crazy things.
It was called the change.
Yeah, you know these things. So a lot of the things that you're speaking about is been very helpful for the other things that every majority of women go through. So it's helped you.
I feel aggrieved and pissed off that the messaging out there is not more honest about what alcohol actually does. I'm going to say a challenging thing, and at the very beginning I was like, you'll say that, you know you will. And it's not challenging. It potentially could be challenging. It could be like, oh, piss off, Ailsa. But see at the start, right? there was a like, I'll have a prosecco, then I'll have a coffee, and I'll be. So coffee. Now this is just an example.
It's a caffeine.
It's a diuretic and it slows
that
down the
makes it
body's
worse.
production
You
of
know these
alcohol.
things.
Aye, and it just made me smile about all those. Like it was just an example of those things that we say like about, but actually the facts around alcohol are not out there in terms of what it does, how
justify it to yourself.
So if we're going through menopause and you've got all that fucking adversity coming at you in terms of change and how you're feeling, and sleep is a problem and temperature is a problem, almost every single symptom of menopause, alcohol is a trigger for increased heart rate, raising your body temperature, activating a hot flush, cutting your REM sleep. So it's one of those, like, we have not been, as a society, culturally, we're sold missed messages from the Jane Pop, like your media, all that stuff. It's
There's
just
misinformation
not out there.
and there's non-information. And what you said earlier, Jack, about why do you think we've got such a culture? And we have got that culture, right? And we can't change the past. We're not going to wipe out history or anything like that. But that is one of the reasons why it makes it so difficult for us to be comfortable changing our mind. And I'm not speaking about alcohol, I'm just speaking about anything. Well, I used to do that, I don't want to do that anywhere. And it's like, what the fuck?
There'd be no fear of
It's
missing out if
different.
nobody was doing it.
No.
Do you know, if we as a society were like that, I can get awfully excited, right? And I can go down a bit of a conspiracy theory thing about it. Very much suits the government to have hundreds of robots. No, it very much suits the government.
Get a deal with Tinder.
If I had to rule people, would I want them drinking or no? Of course I'd fucking want them drinking, because I'd want them placated well enough to just get up, to survive through the week, to not think big, to not have energy, to not get a great sleep, so that they could turn up, do their job, earn their money, buy their drink, have their weekend, go back, stay in the cycle, pay the taxes, do the alcohol, do the... yes, I would want people drinking, and I'd want their sparkle taken. I suppose I was thinking about you in the holiday, and I taught myself, I brainwashed myself to believe that alcohol only takes from you, it only steals from you. It takes your sparkle, it takes your vibe, it takes your everything. I think that you're taught to believe it gives you, like being fun on a night out and connection with friends. And I have like brainwashed myself to see
it takes your peace from tomorrow, though. It does.
Yeah, like the fear.
It borrows your peace. That's why, because when you have that, it's that anticipation, and then you get a bit anxious. So it takes all that peace that you've got from tomorrow, which is why you have a shitty sleep. You wake up in the morning and you're like, what the fuck did I say in 2003 to that guy that didn't fucking deserve it? Do you know what I mean, though? It's that, it just steals. It does. And again, I'll probably have a drink again. And I'll be the life and soul, and I'll be the first up at the bar having fucking shots. I get that. Do you know what I mean? But it's just the change. It's so difficult to make changes.
About the culture, because when you're living in the culture, you do what the culture does. Whereas I find, and probably even when I was a wee bit younger, when you go on particularly abroad on holiday, you don't drink as much. You're a lot more sociable. Do you know? No, I hated missing the next game day.
No, I just lie in front of it.
I'm going to wrap up. Right, ladies. It's 3:52. That's like more than 90 minutes we've chatted for. So I'm going to terminate.
Terminate my contract.
Terminate, you're over. But can we have a round of applause for Ailsa? Thank you for sharing. Thank yous for coming. Thank you for hosting us.
Anytime.
I've just sat here for 90 minutes, done fuck all. It's been great. All right, so this will be on YouTube, it will be on Spotify, Coach Caris, Instagram. So what's the other word? Facebook. I'll tag you.
All those places.
Honestly, thank you very much. We're still here for another 8 minutes.
So do eat a macaroon.
Get some stuff, ask Ailsa some questions. But honestly, from the bottom of my heart, ladies, thank you very much. It's much appreciated. Yeah.
You press stop.
Yep. Let's press stop.
And